When I go out there, bitch, I'm ready. I'm ready for war at any moment. I'm ready to slice the bitch at the angles and curb stomp them, bitch.
Welcome everybody, my name is Lunakye. We are here on Talking to Earthlings with Lunakye. Today we have special guest and influencer, Robert Kloss, AKA God Zeus. He goes by a number of different names on social media. Thank you so much for joining us today, Robert. So Robert, God Zeus, what would you like me to call you?
Robert is fine.
Robert's fine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, I have you here because Talking with Earthlings is really about getting to know people, getting to know their backstories, getting to know, why they operate the way that they do. And I really today want to understand your story. My first question is, where were you born?
I was born in Hartford, Connecticut.
You live in New York City now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What part exactly?
Manhattan.
Okay.
Can't give you the full details because motherfuckers are crazy.
Okay. So when did you, how many different places have you lived?
I started off in Hartford, Connecticut until I was 21, going through college, and then I decided I wanted to move to Florida. So, I said I want to go to Florida. So then I went to Florida for my master's degree, Boca Raton, for 2 years. And then I said I wanted to model, so then I went to New York after Boca and got a job in an apartment in New York City and modeled. So just those 3 places.
Are you close with your family?
Well, my brother was just here. Not really. Now I'm a little bit closer because my grandmother has dementia, so she used to take care of all of us. So I'm a little bit closer as I'm older now, but growing up, no, not really. My family was very favoritism, I feel as if, towards my older brother. So I was always in the shadow, the younger brother, trying to they always praised him, talked about how great he was, oh, he's got this, he's going to college, he's doing this, and I was a little bit more rougher. So when it comes to my family, now I'm closer to them, like my immediate, like my grandmother and my aunt and my mom and my stepfather. But just besides them, no, not really.
What about your biological father?
He's a crackhead.
Literally?
Yeah, he's a legitimate crackhead. I think the last time I saw him was like 7 or 8 years ago. He robbed my mother, and I remember my mom telling us that we had to live in a shelter for a few months before we stayed with my grandmother. He also sold her car that she used to have for drugs. So it's weird being a child like 6, 7, 8 years old and keep hearing a parent tell you, when is your father gonna pay child support? When is your father gonna pay child support? I didn't know what the fuck that meant. So I wanted to know my father, and I didn't know about him doing crack or drugs. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know any of those things. I didn't even know about whatever that was. I just knew that I was a child trying to know who their father was. So I remember I was 12 years old, and I never knew what crack looked like, what a crackhead looked like, any of those things. And I was sitting on my father's porch with him, and he was like, come sit on my lap, and I'm 12 years old. And then I said to him legitimately, when are you gonna pay child support? And he was just sitting there glazed out, and I looked at his eyes, and eyes were bloodshot red, and he was just staring forward. And I was like, oh, this is what it looks like. This is what someone who does drugs looks like. This is what someone who's on crack looks like when they're either coming down from the fix. Like, it all started to come together. Like, my actual father is really a crackhead. I had a stepfather at the time, so he was the one financially taking care of us. Like, we had a house we lived in, and he worked, and my mom didn't. But I wanted to get to know my real father. But I never got the chance to. So am I close to my father? Absolutely not. My real father's a crackhead, and I've just come to accept that there's never going to be a connection there.
So age 12 is a pretty young age to have that realization. Mm-hmm. But were you able to understand what that meant? How did you deal with that as a 12-year-old?
It's not something you ever really deal with. It's still something like, even now, it's a numbness. When you're 12 years old, 13, 14, I feel like your emotions are much higher than when you become an adult. When you become an adult, you become more numb to certain things and you're not as emotional. 12 years old, for me being in that scenario, I did have support of a mom and financial support of a stepfather, but there were nights where I went to sleep where I'd just sit there saying, why me? Like, why can't I have a father? Why can't I have somebody to talk to? Why can't I have somebody? But at 12 years old, you don't internalize those types of things. You don't ask those types of questions to yourself. You just wonder, and you just kind of either cry, which I did 1 or 2 nights, not for long, for like 5 minutes, just like, this can't be real, or you just carry on. And for me, I was dealing with so many other things in life, family-wise, that at that point when I started to realize what he was about and what he was trying to do, like, oh, you know, the next, like when I was 15, we went to Six Flags and he's wearing 2 different pairs of shoes and he's got a strap on his, a strapless shirt and one of the straps is ripped. And he's coming out with crust on his face, talking about, I love you guys. And I'm just sitting here looking like, this is what it is.
Yeah. So you're a gay African-American man. What do you mean by that?
So I'm actually mixed. German, my mom is German and Indian, and my dad is Peruvian. So just plethora of shit, actually. And I wouldn't say gay. I have an interest in men. I also have an interest in women. I've even found myself being interested in someone who presents himself as trans. I don't have a specific preference. I don't know.
I've seen you interact on social media. I've seen you interact on Bigo. It can be perceived sometimes that you can be kind of cruel to people. Does that come from past traumas? Is that just your personality? Is that a character that you're playing? Can you speak to that? I'm curious.
I look at it as soon as you turn on your phone and put yourself on any social media, as soon as you put yourself in front of any camera, as soon as you put yourself in front of anything, you are subjectifying yourself to then being scrutinized and criticized. When I wake up in the morning, somebody's gonna judge me for my skin color, hair color, eyes, shape, body, orientation, gender. If one eye looks too far apart from the other one, if one baby hair is this way. So when I come on social media, I could give 2 fucks about how people perceive what I do. It doesn't come from trauma as much, but it comes from a place of, I grew up being bullied, being talked about.
Isn't that trauma?
For me, that's not as traumatizing. That made me feel numb. Even when I think about it now. So I mean, you know what?
Doesn't numbness come from trauma?
I guess you could say the numbness comes from trauma. But I was just in scenarios a lot of times where I was around people that made fun of me. And I felt like I had to do something or say something back to them. So it kind of grew into a part where I was like, as I got older, I started to grow into, wait, I'm a little bit witty. I can say something back. Oh, I can be funny too with it. And then when I get older, like it turned into something like just a natural, when I'm going off, I'm not thinking about if this is gonna hurt someone's feelings, if this is gonna make someone cry, if this is gonna make someone happy, or because where I'm at in life, when I turn on that camera, when I put my face in front of that screen, the amount of shit that I get from people, and the amount of negativity and death threats and gender threats and hate and racism will traumatize anybody who doesn't have thick skin.
Totally.
It's fucking absurd if I tell y'all some of the things that. But do I think it came from those places of trauma and like people bullying me and all that stuff? It's half and half because I grew into what I do. People are gonna say it's cruel, people are gonna say it's mean, people's gonna say all this. I give the biggest fuck you to anybody who has any feeling, anything that comes across to me that's negative about what I do, I could care less.
I am you and you are me.
Okay.
And what I mean is we are both human beings.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have dealt with mental health issues. I've dealt with certain traumas. I can relate to some of what you're saying, not all of it. I understand where you're coming from. I don't present myself the way that you do exactly. But one thing that I really respect about you is that you are just your unapologetic self. Mm-hmm. And you're, like you said, you're very confident. It does sound like that, you've faced a fair amount of judgment for the person that you are or that you were, and that judgment has caused you to kind of retaliate in certain ways. Would you agree with that? And at this point, now that you're, in your 3rd decade of life, I won't give away your exact age.
16, I'm 16.
Would you say that you do it because it's kind of become a character, or is it really helping you to cope in certain ways?
So I wouldn't say retaliate for me. I would say things that have happened have had caused me to reiterate, restructure my whole life. It's actually all the negative things that have happened and the traumatic things have caused me, they pushed me to want to go so hard. When I was younger and I was in the shadows, I would spend so many nights thinking like, why not me? Why I got an A on my report card. Why is everybody talking about my brother? He's so tall, the girls want him, nobody pays. And when I started to do a little bit better for myself, I saw the potential I had in myself, and I said, if I'm gonna set a goal, I'm gonna reach for it. And once I did that with college, it moved on to everything else. And I started to take those bad experiences and say, I never wanna feel that way again. I feel good about going to college. I feel good about getting my own apartment. I feel good about, and the roles kind of switched with me and my brother. I'll get into that a little bit later. But when I think about the stuff that happened, it doesn't cause me to retaliate. It causes me to kind of mask the emotional part of me. So when you see me online, that is me. Like everything's organic. If anything, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, what am I gonna do today? I'll do makeup. Okay, let me get some baby powder. Let me get some Crayola crayons. Let me get all this. And then I'll turn on the stream and I'll just start doing all this on my face, or I'll just put tape nails on, or I'll look at somebody else's live stream and they might have a roach in the background. So I'm like, I'm gonna get a roach raid can. Like, it's just random shit. It's all me. I don't have characters. I don't have themes. I don't have anything. It's just me. It's just me fucking putting makeup on me. All this shit is just me, just randomly. I'm in my house fucking putting lights here, doing this. Like, this isn't something, I don't have a big production team. It's just me doing whatever. It's just my brain and mind running. Not giving a fuck about what people think about what I put on, because I now have learned that I have the mouth and the wit to just be able to just say whatever I want and do whatever I want to shoot off of it. Joan Rivers said this, and I think it's the best thing in the world. She said, laughter is a little vacation from the real world. And I take that with me to heart.
Interesting, I like that.
Because the real world is fucked up. My real world is fucked up. My grandmother's dying, she has Alzheimer's. It brings me to tears when I talk about it. I won't elaborate too much unless I need to. Being someone of color, being someone who interacts with men and women and this and that, being too tall, too short, skinny, whatever, a million things. So I've learned when I get those messages of people who say, Robert, I'm in the hospital, I had a miscarriage, I have stage 4 cancer, but I came onto your live stream and you made me laugh for 30 minutes to an hour. It brings me to tears sometimes. I know that what I'm doing moves and affects people in certain ways, and that's all that matters. But I know that for me, is it a coping mechanism? No, it's something I like to do. But at the same time, it helps me. You're not gonna see me get on live and talk about my real world painful things that are going on. And if you do, it's only gonna be for like 5 to 10 minutes. Happiness is what I try to focus on, because it helps you get through life easier. And then I try to let myself cry like maybe for 30 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I think about something like my grandmother who's passing away, or my mother, but things that are real life. I let those things sink in and I become a human for a minute. Laughter and what it brings to people, it helps me take a vacation, it helps you take a vacation, it helps the next person just for, even if it's 10 minutes, it helps you forget. It helps you forget a bill being paid, a child doing something, a family member who passed, somebody being sick, you being sick. And that's why I do it. I try to stay away from the emotional part, because the emotional part, that's the only thing I mask. Because for me, it's too overwhelming. It's too many negative things going on in my life at once. If I think about them all, I'm gonna shut down. So it helps me just cruise by and mask that. But it is a part of me, and I do give that part. You'll rarely see it, but when you catch it, I feel like it's golden, because it's just me being more vulnerable.
So do you feel like you are actively, because I can very, very, very much relate. Like you said, the world, I don't personally believe that the world is a fucked up place, but I think that it absolutely can be a fucked up place. And I choose to focus on happiness too. I wake up every day and I remember to be grateful for what I have, and I genuinely am a happy person.
Yeah,
I genuinely am a happy person. So you said that you don't really deal with certain emotions because it would just be too overwhelming and be too much. But then you also said at the same time that you let yourself cry, you let yourself be human. So do you feel like you have a good balance there?
No, I wish I could do more of that. I was in therapy for 2 years in college because our house was foreclosed twice with my stepfather, who's an alcoholic. That's a whole other thing. But I learned that I need to allow myself to be more emotional, to be more vulnerable in that sense. You know, when your life is moving, when you get up, you go to work, then you go home, you live stream, you watch TV, you eat, you go to the gym. Life goes by quickly. A lot of things happen fast. You know, I work a full-time job, you know, special needs students. So where do you find the time to be selfish and cater to yourself? It's hard sometimes. You know, I've found myself entangled so much in live streaming and making sure that I give back to everyone else that I have to shut everything off sometimes 2 or 3 times a year and just say, I'm gonna think about all the fucked up shit that's going on with me right now. And I should do that more because it's healthy to.
Yeah.
You need to. If I could encourage people to, I tell people to do it all the time. But sometimes I don't take my own advice because it's hard. It's not easy to sit there and think about a family member passing away, a grandmother, an aunt and uncle. It's not easy. No one, you don't want to do that. You don't want to sit there and think about, I mean, it's hard. You know, anybody who watches this right now can be sitting here and thinking about 5 to 10 things that probably make them bust down in tears, whether it's the past or the present or currently. You don't want to do that. But sometimes it's good to do that because sometimes it's good to have that release.
No, I totally understand. Well, you know what? I first of all want to say that I love you. I know that sounds weird, but I just want to say I love you because your vulnerability is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And this is a Robert that I've never ever seen before.
A lot of people wouldn't know this, yeah.
And it's amazing. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you opening up and talking about your life in such a vulnerable way. So there's 2 things I want you to elaborate on a little bit more. One, you said you work with special needs kids. Mm-hmm. I would love if you would tell us about that because that sounds awesome. And then I would also like to know what role your grandmother played in your life. Mm-hmm. And
can I get a tissue? That's gonna get me. Go on, child. So when I was an undergraduate at college, I did sociology. And then as a major, psychology as a minor. I wanted to be a biochemist, but that was like, bitch, math and numbers is just not for me. And then I got
I'm surprised you're so good at BIGO.
Oh my God, I pick up well. I pick up quickly. I pick up, because BIGO is a numbers game.
It is.
I thought
It is
BIGO
a
was a
numbers
scam
game.
when I joined. I was like, bitch, beans, money, coins, 70. It's like, this is a scam.
Yeah.
But I learned, I pick up very quick. I pay attention. When you want something, pay attention to your surroundings, study the environment, and that'll help you get from point A to point B. That's what I did. And teach yourself little tips and tricks to get you whatever. So got my master's degree in higher education. I said I wanted to move to New York. So somebody was like, oh, Robert, you're moving to New York. You want to move down here? My friend he works at a school, whatever like that. He can get your job. You have a master's degree. So I was like, yeah, I'm 22 years old with a master's degree, turning 23. So they got me a job. So when I moved down to New York, as soon as I moved down, I already had, like, they already got me there, hired me and everything. And Abercrombie and Fitch also hired me. So I was working with special needs kids. It's been so fulfilling and great because I've learned so much about, I'm treating these special needs students like they're typical students. I'm like, they drop a pencil or they whatever, I'm like, pick it up. The fuck does it look like? You have 4 hands? Like, I'm talking to them like, you know, a typical developing. But then you take a step back and then you look at their needs. So if some of them can't speak, I'm not gonna ask you to speak to me and tell me a math problem or read a sentence. You're gonna take a step back. Or if someone did drop a pencil and you notice that they were, you know, possibly impaired, you know, they didn't have the muscle strength, you might help them with it. You know, you learn as you go along. But at no time did I ever treat any of my special needs clients like they were special needs. And I just came to learn, and that I feel like really gave them the opportunity to excel and advance, and parents love me. I've never had a complaint ever about any of my clients that I've worked with because parents are like, how does he listen to you? And I'm like, hello? You either get the spectrum of the parents who are like, oh, Sally, oh, it's okay, oh, she scratched me, oh, no, we don't, put her hand. And I'm like, put your hands down. Or you get the parents that are like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You get like one extreme together, and then you get the really loving, caring parents. So it just made me learn to love, like, you know, treat them like they're my own kids.
How did it come into your life?
So the guy on Facebook introduced me to his boss who worked at a school. So when I moved down to New York, he had me working in Brooklyn at an integrated classroom, half special needs, half that. From there, then once that term ended, then I got another job here working with special needs in the classroom, special needs. And then I went to an all special needs school where we did ABA, applied behavior analysis specifically. And then I just kept going on from there. Special needs, it just made sense because I already had the degree. I already started off when somebody got me the job. So why not just keep it going and look for something better? You know what I'm saying? That's the field I'm in. But that's when I started streaming, live streaming on social media.
So it sounds to me like you're really about tough love. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we live in a world where tough love is everything. Like, I tell people all the time when people come to me with their sad sob stories, people hit me in my inbox, I've got stage 4 cancer, you made me laugh, I'm going through so many things, but thank you so much. And I'm like, girl, come on over and watch some of these other videos. Get some of this love and get some of this therapy. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and cater to you because you're going through this or you have a bill. No, girl, laugh. You could be in the middle of the most craziest shit going on in your fucking life right now. Just learn to laugh, learn to breathe, learn to be in the fucking moment. People forget to do that. They bury a hole and they live and they sleep and they sink in it till the maggots eat at their fucking flesh. Why do that? Why live in that? There's no point. No point. There's so many things to be grateful for. Tough love is tough love. I give tough love because I feel like I had to give myself tough love to get from point A to point B. I had to treat myself as such to be able to survive. I had to understand that if you want to elevate, tough love to myself and others is the only way that you're going to be able to do it. Tough love is where you have to go to survive. I don't consider myself a celebrity. I don't consider myself anything. That's why when anyone talks to me, I'm like, I'm just a regular whatever, just doing my thing, just enjoying what I do. But you have to have tough love. If you don't have tough love, being in the real world is not for you. Go in your house, shut your door, get a 9-to-5 job, have a wife or husband, some kids with a white picket fence, a dog, take care of them, grow up, get a retirement fund, and die. Or you can expand and see what the world has to offer for you and to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? But tough love is necessary. You have to give it to yourself because if you don't, you're gonna get eaten alive. You have to have thick skin. You better call me a motherfucking alligator. I don't have an alligator purse. It's Versace. But it's a Birkin. But you have to fucking be able to have tough love, like period. So I've learned that, and I've learned on this app, on any social media, when I go out there, bitch, I'm ready. I'm ready for war at any moment. I'm ready to slice a bitch at the angles and curb stomp them, bitch. I'm ready, but I'm not on defense going into anything. I'm just ready if need be because I give myself enough tough love to know that I'm not gonna go to sleep beaten up. And I know there's sometimes on social media where I'm getting chewed up. I'm getting fucking red for pieces and I start feeling my emotions come in. And I start feeling myself, my heart starts beating a little bit. Oh my God, this person's making me feel a certain type of way. I'm starting to look crazy. And I'm like, bitch, get myself together. Let me change the subject or move around because I gotta give myself some tough love. Swallow. When I turn that camera off, I'm like, okay, Robert, get it together. Gotta give myself some tough love, bitch. It's okay, it's just an app. If you see that person, just tiptoe around them a little bit or just learn, be ready for World War II or III with them. But you have to be able to give yourself that gotta be able to beat yourself up a little bit. Because that's the world we live in. Now, as for my grandmother was, oh Lord, so my grandmother was my immediate family. She was the one who took care of us all. So when I
want to hear about it all, by the way.
No, God, you're gonna get me emotional. So, because this is currently going on. So my grandmother was the one, oh, it's gonna bring me to tears. So my grandmother was the one who, I hate you for this. My grandmother has dementia right now. So she was the one who currently took care of all of us. So she had trauma in her life because her brother passed away, 2 of her sisters passed away in the same year. And to see someone kind of deteriorate like that it's difficult, So she was kind of like the main source of the family.
The pillar? The pillar?
The pillar of the family, yeah. Like when you had Thanksgiving, everyone would come to her house. Christmas, everyone would come to her house. That was the one time that you could be like just with family. You feel like you're at home, So in the past like 3 or 4 years, as I said, like her sisters passed away, 2 of her brothers passed away. She has 2 left, 2 family members. There were 7 of them. So to see all that happen and take a toll on someone's brain, it's difficult. So now when I go see her, which was recent, or I talk with her on the phone, dementia, she's saying like, oh, I'm going back to the house, or sometimes she might forget my name, just stuff like that. And you have to, it's difficult. And she just recently went through a moment where They went to bring her to the hospital. My aunt went to bring her to the hospital about 6 or 7 months ago. And they went and transported her to a ward, and they said that the ward was going to take care of her. And they were like, this better not be a psych hospital. And it was a psych hospital. We had to go, and they were like, we can't release her till Monday because they were trying to get money. And she was trying to escape. When I saw her at the door, mind you, my grandmother's a diabetic. She's a cancer survivor, breast cancer. She had both her breasts removed. She had diabetes, high blood pressure, gout, every fucking thing, everything. She fell, and they tried to play it off. She had bruises on her, and we were getting lawyers involved in everything, but we just wanted her to get out as soon as possible, and they wouldn't release her until Monday because it was the weekend. So once we got her out of there, and it was just hard seeing her there because I would come and I would sit next to her and just spend time with her, let her just talk and gibber or whatever. And she was just happy to see me, and I'm glad she still remembers who I am. But it's difficult dealing with something like that because when you grow up with someone who takes care of you, that's like anybody. You know, if you're immediate, whatever that person who's that pillar, that structure, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, aunt, when you see them kind of deteriorate and when you're sitting next to them, I just feel numb because I know that if I think about it, I'm going to break down. And I don't want to show her that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I stay strong for her. Same thing for my aunts. All my aunts and my mom, they just kind of stay strong. We just don't talk about it. It's just not something we talk about. So that's why, like, even now when I'm talking about it, you know, it makes me emotional because we don't like to talk about it, you know, and it's hard.
Totally.
Seeing my mom and, you know, her daughters, see her just sitting there, not being able to do anything about it. So she's in good hands right now. She's with my aunt. She's being taken care of. She's not in her house. They have her in Florida with my other aunt, but I had no emotions. I didn't feel any type of way because I just like, I have to be stone-faced. I have to be strong. I can't be crying up here in front of these people because they're not crying. You know, so I have to be a pillar for them. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of made me, I was only in my 20s, but it kind of made me grow up quickly, like grow up much more quickly in the sense where I have to, from that experience, like that is like the most, there's nothing on this earth. I mean, you can fucking throw daggers at me, bitch. You can say whatever the fuck you want about me. Like, there's nothing on this earth that can make me fucking break down besides something like that because I'm already stone cold from it.
So, do you feel like that authentic human connection and that love that you have for your grandmother fuels you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when I think about it, Bigo, Facebook, when I hear people say, my husband passed away or my whatever, if I can bring somebody an ounce of happiness or joy in a moment, then I want to do that. And when I sit next to her now and just spend time with her, we don't even have to talk about anything. She can just be rambling on and saying random stuff. How you doing? And I'm just with her. I'm just bringing her joy by giving her my essence, my body, of being, you know, just being physically there. So when I hear other people tell me their stories about me making them happy, it makes me feel good because I know that I'm doing that for her. So I use that as well, you know, as motivation. You know, make a lot of money. Try to make money, try to make it somewhere because I want her to be proud and I want her to be on a red carpet or a stage and see me do well. You know what I'm saying? Even though she's in this moment right now, even if she doesn't remember it 5 minutes later, that's like the biggest goal in the world for me. You know, my mother as well, you know, and all that
I
stuff.
Understand. I totally
you
understand.
you want to see that person see you, you know, even if they don't understand what's going on, you want to see that. So, you know, when I make money, I send my mom $500, $5,000, $2,000. I try, you know, my mom is all over the place and she's not the best person with a lot of stuff too. But, you know, just to give them any ounce of happiness in any moment is like the best thing you can do.
What is it that Robert wants with the rest of his life? What sort of a legacy does Robert want to leave?
I don't know. I don't think about those things. A lot of people, they go and they do these things on social media and they do these things in general so they can leave an impression, so they can leave all that. I don't think about those things. If it has to do with happiness, I guess, making people smile, giving people a sense of a vacation from the real world, I guess I've never just sat and thought about, like, what do I want my name to be? What do I want people to leave? Because when I turn off my phone, I don't look at those things till later on. I don't look at those messages. I don't look at any of the things. I go on about my life, but I know when I look at those things, I'm doing something right. I don't know what a legacy would be. I don't know I don't know, because I don't even think about the future.
So at the very, very, very core of it, what would you say where would you say your happiness derives from? What makes you happy in life? When you peel back the layers, what is it that genuinely brings you happiness?
I don't know. I don't even know if I found that. Because I've never been in a relationship, never been in love, almost probably started falling in love. I'm not going to say I'm sad, I'm not going to say I'm upset, I'm not going to say I'm happy, but I don't know. I don't know what my happiness is.
Do you live your life with a certain purpose, like a very specific purpose that you see in your mind, or do you, I mean, you kind of just said it, or do you feel like you're still searching for that?
I'm searching for it. I don't know. That's why when everyone's like, oh, you've been on Beagle for 5 months, I'm like, yeah, and I've been on Facebook for 2 years. I don't know. I don't know what my future is. I'm just an in-the-moment person. I'm not even searching. Like, this is like, I just don't know where I'm going to end up. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. I just know that I enjoy what I'm doing. Like, I don't even, when I go live stream and all that, I mean, people, you know, I'm out here meeting people who are celebrities and all this and that, and people are like, oh, you're going to Hollywood and you're all this, and I'm like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just genuinely making connections with people. Like, I have nothing in my head that says where I'm going to end up, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to be, all of that. I just authentically am trying to be me, you know? And I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of, but I don't like to even think of things solid, concrete like that. Because when you think of things that are solid and concrete like that, then you are capping yourself, in my opinion. Regardless if it's a great thing, if you want to leave a legacy and all this, why not do more? Why not? Because you might do that plus 3 or 4 more things. I want to be a person that just, when I end up somewhere, I can look back and say, this is what I did, not what I was planning to do.
Totally.
The only thing I planned to do was go my ass to college, and I did that. Now I'm just giving myself.
That's awesome.
So I have tunnel vision, but there's no end to the tunnel. It just keeps going until our ass hits a flat wall and dies. It goes on to the afterworld, where I'll still be a whore. I don't know what legacy I'm gonna leave behind. All I do know is that I'm doing something right.
Have you ever been stuck in a deep depression? And from what you've communicated, I've gotten that whenever you feel bad, you pull yourself together pretty quickly. So have you been stuck in a deep depression, or do you continue to get stuck in deep depressions, or was it that you got stuck in a deep depression at one point in your life and you realized that's not what you wanted to be, that's not who you wanted to be, and that's why you kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps now?
Well, when you live your whole childhood growing up as a deep depression, seeing your brother always being praised by your family. When I was younger, it was just always, I felt like I was the shadow. My brother had friends, he had people to talk to, the girls were talking to him. I didn't really have friends. I got made fun of, called gay, skinny, loud, this and that. My childhood was a deep depression, like socially, like trying to get to know people, trying to be someone that grew up as a normal child. I mean, I would make some friends here or there, but it wasn't like, I could probably count how many solid friends I had on one hand. And when I got older, once I started to know who I was and get into my own brain, I used to think about those things and how those things were, and that has helped me to say, I never want to feel like that again. I never am going to allow people to make me feel like that. So when I say deep depression for me, I'm not talking like slit my wrist and drink rat poison or bleach type of shit. Like, I never did any of that. A deep depression for me is just not getting what I felt like I was supposed to get as a child emotionally. That was my deep depression. That was, for me, thinking about those moments growing up, that's what made me the way I am today. And that's what makes me so quick to shut down and be able to come back up and pick up myself by the bootstrap. Because I never want to feel like that. Nobody wants to feel like that. And so many people allow that. I don't let anything make me feel like that. I don't let anything make me feel like someone's one-upping me, making me feel like I have to be jealous of someone or better than someone. I just learned to be selfish and love my fucking self unconditionally. And one of the things that keeps me inspired the most is remembering that it's not about me anymore. When I log on and I do my shit on social media, the amount of people, when people say to me, I miss you so much, or I'm in the hospital, all that stuff, it's not about me anymore.
Okay, so you said you've never been in a relationship. but you have shared intimacy with both genders, both males and females. Is that correct?
Cats and dogs. No, I'm joking. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Male and females.
And why have you not been in a relationship?
Oh my God.
Do you know? Do you have insight into that?
I didn't know what it meant to be gay. So when I was growing up, I think the youngest I remember is that in like 4th or 5th grade, we had like a pen pal guy come. His name was like James or something. And he was like helping us like write pen pals and stuff. And I loved him so much. I was like, oh my God, it's so great whenever he comes. And I didn't know what this feeling was like. Just enjoy it. So then, you get to middle school, I'm dealing with girls, still trying to, have a girl get this girl's attention. But then when she's getting my attention, talking about, yeah, we can date. I'm just like, no, I'm bipolar as fuck. Then I get to high school, and then we have like, my high school was ghetto. That there's only 2 gays in there. I'm sure there were a lot more, but there were 2 gays, like the known gays. Everyone else was like, whatever. So I was like, okay. And then I saw a movie, and I was like, I think I like this. So then I started watching, gay porn, seeing gay stuff, doing all this. I was like, oh, I like men a lot more than I like women. Okay.
I'm sorry, how old were you when you had that realization?
High school, maybe 14.
Okay.
So there was a movie, I don't know what movie it was, but there was a clip in the movie, y'all taking me back. There was a clip in the movie where they was showing different parts, and then there was 2 men in the bathtub. And it was only showing like different clips of the scenes of the movie, like when it's going through like the credits and stuff like that. There was 2 men in the bathtub, and they kissed, and somebody was like, yo, that's that gay shit. And I was like, that's what that is. So then I realized, oh, that's what it means. So let me go, and then, we got a computer in the house, all the family would be going, I would look at some gay porn and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I think I like men. 14 years old. So I kept it from the family, nobody knew anything like that. Got to college, didn't mess with the man until I was like 20 years old, maybe 21. I became a little bit more popular, I grew into myself, I wore clothes. That's when I started to harness like, oh, I got the mouth. Like I started hosting comedy shows and stuff like that. Never got with anybody, especially not a man. Hell no. Everybody thinks I'm straight. The girls love me. Oh my God, he's the cute new guy on campus. Became the vice president of the most popular club. My friends this, got the nice bill, all that stuff. Never thought about a relationship.
Were you a lot different back then than you are now?
Mouth-wise, no.
What about in terms of mannerisms and flamboyancy and stuff like that?
No, same.
Okay.
I used to wear fucking coats, big glasses. I used to, oh, bitch, do all that. High school, oh, bitch, you motherfucker, I don't give a fuck, girl. Yeah, girl, I'm not gay. Bitch, stop talking. Like high school, bitch, they'd be like, if you can't tell this is a sissy, you couldn't tell me nothing in high school. But college is when girls started to notice me and stuff. At the end of high school, senior year in college, girls started to notice me. So I changed up my mannerisms to fit because the girls are gonna clock you for being gay immediately if you, so I started being, oh yeah, and I would be funny and I would bring it into comedy and humor if I'm on stage, like, ooh, whatever, blah, 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 this bitch, and my mouth started going and people were like, bitch, you have a talent, like you can host these shows. So I was hosting shows and all that, but never in a relationship. Talked to some guys, slept with 1 or 2 men, got to, never tried dating in undergraduate college. Graduate school,
and that was by decision?
That was by decision, never crossed my mind, never. Then I tried. Really started liking someone a little bit, came to find out that they just, played me or whatever initially. They just had an ulterior motive, which was just whatever. I used to wear my heart on my sleeve, so if I invited someone over to start trying to date them, I remember I invited over one man to try to date and cooked dinner, put out candles and everything. He came over, we hung out for like 10, 15 minutes. Then he wanted to like sit on my lap. I was just like, okay, but I'm not trying to have sex, like I'm trying to watch a movie or whatever like that. And I was joking with him, like I would nudge him and he would nudge me back. And then he got really mad and like punched me in the arm and I'm like, the fuck? And then he was like, I'm leaving. And I was like, okay, so that was a bust. And then as I started to move forward, like with trying to date, I started to notice that, wait a minute, I'm good at communicating. Came to find out that as I just went through people and finding things out, I found out a lot about myself. And the reality is, for me, when I try to date someone, I need someone who's able to be vibrant. If we want to run down the street naked together, we can. But if we want to conduct business together and make money, we can. I just need you to be whole. And I don't mind teaching people.
So you're malleable.
I'm malleable. I don't mind teaching people and showing you, but I won't babysit. So then I get into the people now. I start trying to date people and I start trying to talk to people, and they have all these flaws, and I'm like, that's fine. but I'm also not there to babysit somebody. I'm not there to tell you how to make money, to tell you how to get your life together. I've had so many people that I potentially could have dated, and I'm like, I just gave you a whole hefty shit of advice, and you're not even taking it and run with it. So for now, for me, like whenever I try to date somebody, I'm not even thinking about dating right now, but whenever I do or have tried to date people, it's just been bust because people have had bad communication skills. When I've given them an opportunity, tell me how you communicate, I want to know. You can't even uphold what you told me. So why would I try to continue to pursue something with you if you can't even do that? There's only one person that I almost fell in love with. And when I met him, he had a boyfriend and he loved my energy. So he actually ended up breaking up with his boyfriend of 3 years, who he would cheat on all the time. Then we got together with each other, but it was the hardest thing in the world because I noticed that I was starting to really have feelings for this person because they would just love me for being genuinely me. I would run down the street, I would drink, I would scream, I would chill in my house and watch a movie. And they had conversation with me. It was just enticing. It's everything you want. You want your partner to just feed off of you and you feed off of them.
I would say anyone can relate to that.
Anyone, yeah. So then he even asked me one day, he was like, do you even care for me? Because we haven't had sex and we've been together for 7 months. And I wanted to, but we haven't. Like we've been all over each other, but we just haven't had sex, regardless of what that entails. And I made up excuses and all that stuff because I started to feel numb. And when I start to feel numb, that's when there's some type of emotion that's attached. So I need to remind myself to feel numb again. Somebody asked if we were in the relationship because I reacted and I was like, no. He told me that hurt his feelings in public because I said it like so broadly. Like he was like, you could have just been like, we're talking or something like that, but you were just like, no. And I was like, there's a reason why I snapped that so quickly, no. Because it's just like, it scares me. It scares me to think of someone loving me. It scares me to think of someone caring for me unconditionally because I'm not used to it. I was tapping into that. That was starting to happen because this person was just genuinely caring for me. Me, not my clothes, not my jewelry, not my money, not ass, dick, money. Mind you, don't even have all those types of things. Not like I have a million things, but just caring for me, like when I'm happy, sad, up, down, left, right, whatever, just caring for that. So it scared me. Then separated from him, didn't talk for a while. He tried to like mend things and I just wasn't having it. Now he's got a boyfriend. And I just wanted to meet with him just to close everything off. Like just to kind of closure, whatever I guess I would say. But he was like, oh, my boyfriend can meet with us if you want. And I'm like, no, I just want to talk to you.
Is that something that you regret?
Yes. I regret that I reacted the way I did and didn't come back to that person earlier and admit all that. It took me time. But I don't regret anything I ever do because every experience I do helps me learn.
So you've been through experiences that have likely hardened you a little bit. Mm-hmm. When you get into a relationship or when you start to feel those feelings of love towards someone, do you make sacrifices to your own ego? Do you become more selfless with that person? Did you find yourself with that person you were talking about becoming more selfless and wanting to give in and become vulnerable and do things for them even if it wasn't necessarily what you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, and I would do that for someone if I had feelings for them in general. But for him, it started to become dangerous because he would ask me some of the questions that you were asking. And that made me vulnerable. And being vulnerable, it takes me a minute to even think of giving you any of that vulnerability. Like, my wall's up. I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna be all that, but like to tap into those types of things. And I tell people this, that takes time. That takes time for me. It takes a lot of time. You're gonna have to be patient with me. And if you can't be patient with me, then I'm not the one for you. Or the 2, 3, or whatever for you. But when it comes to someone, I'm able to give up a lot of things and sacrifice a lot of things. But platonic things. If anyone tries to interrupt or cater towards things that make me happy so they can have something, I'm able to adjust, but you're not taking that away from me because it's a part of who I am.
That makes so much sense. You kind of, you went to a vulnerable place with this person and it didn't end well. And so now that may have, what I'm getting is that may have made your guard go up even a little bit more. So do you think that that's going to limit you in terms of potential relationships for the future, or do you think that you could come to a place where you meet someone who you're really able to just give your full self to?
It would take a while. The guard is going to be there. I mean, when you've lived your whole life damn near emotionless, for someone to tap into that is like a dagger to the heart. Like, that's not something that's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. Because I'm still trying to do it myself. I'm still tapping into that myself. So you can't expect me to give you that if that's something I'm working with myself. You know, I have my own demons. That's one of them. But now from my past experience that I learned, and it's okay for me to say, hey, I'm not ready for this yet. Give me some time, or let me do it in increments. Let me work it out. Let me finesse. Let's, you know, or you start if you can, or adjust, something like that, you know? But it won't halt me because I'm able to see my flaws and see what's wrong with me when it comes to something. So now in the future, since I learned from that, that would be the first thing I would tell someone if they're trying to get to know me. Okay, well, you can get to know the platonic, the outside, the surface, but the ship and the core, back the fuck up. Not 6 feet, not 12 feet, 5,000 feet, because it's not happening anytime soon.
Robert, God Zeus, I just have to say again, thank you so much for your vulnerability.
Of course, no problem.
It's amazing to see the dynamic between God Zeus that I know on social media,
Yes.
and then Robert, the human being. And so I just so appreciate you bringing that here because talking to Earthlings, that's what it's about. It's about us connecting as human beings, and nothing more than that. And really just, you know, finding a place where even if we're very, very different ideologically or politically or, you know, whatever it is, we find a common ground. You have, in my mind, contributed to uplifting, inspiring, and empowering people. And I just can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you just opening up and being yourself. I have one last question for you, and it's an open-ended question. Is there anything else that is really meaningful to you or significant to you that you would like to share with me or share with the world?
I'm just gonna reiterate it again. We live in a world, when you open your eyes, somebody's going to make fun of your skin complexion, your weight, your height, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your eyes, your what you wear, what you do. If you can go live your life carefree and not taking what people say, because it's not about what they say, it's about what you answer to, and turning all that negative, ingesting it and turning it positive, you really can make a difference. And the best thing, like I said, I heard before, is when Joan Rivers said, laughter is a fucking vacation from the real world.
I realize this is not the most conducive place to do this, but I wanted you to give me a hug.
Oh God, not a
Give me a hug.
Oh
Give me
my
a
God.
hug. Give me a hug. Give me a hug.
Oh Lord.
So where can people find you, first of all? I mean, you're very well known on social media, so why don't you share with us where people can find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Robert Kawan, Robert Kawan. You can also find me on Facebook if you type in Smash Pass Roast. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Kloss, also Smash Pass Roast. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. I want to reiterate that the objective of this show is to remind us all that we are human. And Robert has a story just like all of us. I have a story, he has a story, my producer has a story, we all have a story. At the end of the day, we're all human, we all deal with emotions, we all go through things that are tough, we love, we hate, we fear, we lust. It's all things that make us human. And more than anything, I want us to remember that we are all just human. And I want us to be less polarized as a society, as a nation, as a world. That is what Talking to Earthlings is about. It's about bringing us together and once again reminding us that we are all human. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you. It's a fucking rat, bitches. It's fucking hammered. Lord.